Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Depends where you are. And this is the 2022 SPE Europe Energy GeoHackathon. All right, my name is Junichi Sugiura, and I'm based in the UK. And I'm the session moderator for the presentation. So this time, today, we're gonna have a fourth presentation out of 17 training sessions. So this would be an introduction to MATLAB, and the presenter is Mil. So Mr. Mil Shastri, and I will introduce him pretty short, very shortly. But first of all, I really appreciate all those sponsors who make it possible to do this kind of a huge event. With 150, 160 participants and more. And also a big thanks to organizing committees of GeoHackathon. They spend countless hours organizing this event. So originally, Mr. Oscar Molina is scheduled to give a presentation, but he's going to be later, later sessions, he's going to give a presentation instead. Today, I'm very happy to present our presenter, Mr. Mil Shastri. So he's a senior application engineer at MathWorks, and he's based in Plano, Texas, USA. And as you can see, Mil Shastri advises and supports MathWorks customers in their data analytics and AI objectives. So basically, he's data analytics and artificial intelligence experts using MATLAB and MathWorks products. So Mil, floor is yours, and please take over the screen. And I appreciate your volunteer work, helping us.
Absolutely, Junichi. Thank you so much for introducing me, and it's a pleasure to meet everyone here. I see we have quite a lot of people signed up here, and I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully everyone can see this. Okay, great. So to get things started off, my name is Mil Shastri. I'm a senior application engineer. I work out of the Plano, Texas office of MathWorks. Been in the industry for about 14 years now. My background's in mechanical engineering and robotics. And prior to joining MathWorks, I worked at a hedge fund building trading algorithms in the energy market. Worked in the engineering sector for some of the government and industry contracting companies too. So, and here at MathWorks, I primarily support customers in the data analytics, AI, and deployment space. So anything to do with accessing data, building models out of them, deploying them to enterprise systems, that's what I support customers with. So it's a real pleasure to meet you all today. And it's great that everyone's signing up from different parts of the world. It's great to connect with everyone. I'm looking forward to the last 15 minutes of the session where we'll have some discussions, Q&A. Love to interact with you all. In fact, I'd like to share that this is one of my favorite parts of my job. I get to meet some great minds from across the globe, share ideas, and together help accelerate the pace of science and engineering. So today we'll be talking about data analysis and visualization with MATLAB. Think of this as like an introductory session to MATLAB and the MathWorks products. So to start things off, I'm going to just to kind of get the big picture, right? So I work out of the Plano, Texas office of MathWorks. We are a 5,000 plus company, staff membered company, distributed all across the world, right? So privately held company, and my office is right here. Right here in Plano, Texas, right next to Dallas. And our head office is right next to Boston, Massachusetts, right? So again, big picture orientation. I know a lot of, we might have audience members who are not familiar with the MathWorks product. So just, big picture idea that MathWorks was, with the Gartner's Magic Quadrant for data science and machine learning. MathWorks was a leader. So if you look at this axis where on the axis of completeness of vision and the ability to execute, we're right here on the right side, right? So, so we are on the leadership and the visionary quadrant. So, our marketing team definitely wants me to share this. So, right. Today's agenda, we will see, we will look through data analysis with MATLAB, right? We'll look through a demo, a bit of an introduction of the MATLAB environment. We'll build some routines, create some documentation, deploy them, and I'll point you to some resources too, right? I'm going to turn off my video just to conserve resources here, right? And to show you what you can expect at the end of the session, right? We'll see how you can build a report like this, right? We're very familiar with writing scripts, building algorithms, but very quickly, we'll see how you can, from your scripts and algorithms, very quickly how you can go to something like this, something like a report that has, hyperlinks, neatly formatted images, right? Formatted text. And you see, the goal is to build a story. When we are doing any kind of analysis, you're really trying to build a story that you'd like to share with other people. So we'll see how you can quickly get here. Secondly, I'll also show you how you can do something, build something like this, which is, an interactive app where people can, interact with this. There are, formatted visualizations. You can have people change things around. And very quickly, using the tools in MATLAB, you can share this with other people, right? So we'll see how you can build something like this too. All right. So if we look at it from a larger perspective, what does this data analysis workflow look like, right? I personally work with customers in a variety of industries, right? And see a common theme with people doing data analysis, right? You want to access data, and your data could be in various files, software, hardware, databases, APIs, variety of spaces, right? But then very quickly, once you access it, really, this is where all the bread and butter and the money is, right? Like where you do your analysis and modeling, build your algorithms, create some applications, and then finally, you want to share this, right? And once you do this analysis, you want to leverage this so that you're always building something bigger and better. So you really want to automate this, right? So today we'll see how you can use MATLAB to do all of this really easily, quickly. All right. So the case study that we'll be looking at today would be a fuel economy demo, right? So we'll see how you will access some data from a variety of files where we'd be building some kind of a fuel economy miles per gallon model using a simple variable called like rated horsepower, right? And try to fit this data by estimating some coefficients, right? Simple analysis, right? So really, as we go through this, I encourage you to think of your own workflows as you're doing this, right? This might be fuel economy in this case, but really think of your own data analysis workflows and use that template. Keep that template in mind where we are accessing data, doing some analysis, and sharing it and seeing ways to automate this, right? That's kind of the template that I want you to keep at the back of your mind as we go through this analysis. All right, so let's quickly jump into MATLAB. And I'm going to reorient my screen so that everyone will start from a little more familiar screen. All right, please bear with me. All right, there we go. Right, so for those who are not familiar with this environment, and I'm just going to take a quick check here. I'm trying to organize my screen a little bit. Okay, there we go. I had the Zoom window on my screen, so I was able to move it around. Great. All right, so just to get oriented, this right here is MATLAB, right? So right here is the command window where you can type in commands. On the left side, there's the current folder, which shows all the files in this particular folder. And on the top here, I have my scripts, right? I can always rearrange this layout the way I'd like to, right? So if I want to move things around somewhere, I can always do that, right? That ability is always there. And then on top, there's a tool strip, and with various operations, and we'll touch upon them as they become relevant. All right. So from the command window, you can do operations like like some simple operations, right? Or generate random numbers, or do plotting. Right? Very quickly you're able to do these kind of analyses, right? So on top here, and I'm just going to minimize this window. On top here, what you're looking at is a .mlx file. That's the live script, right? So the live script is what has, you can include neatly formatted text, right? Pictures. It has you can automatically generate these kind of artifacts like table of contents, code, output, all of that in one space, right? So this is the live script that we're looking at. So to get started with, let's look at how we can analyze, we can go through that whole data analytics workflow real quick, right? So to orient y'all, right? So I'm going to go into this in my current folder and see we have data residing in multiple files here, right? And we quickly want to access this, right? Quickly want to get this data into MATLAB. So the simplest way to do this is there's an import data tool. You can import your data, right? You can import your data into MATLAB. And this is the data that we're working with, right? A variety of columns of data with years, manufacturer name, car line, things like rated horsepower. This is going to be important, right? And whether the car drives on a highway or not, and all sorts of variables. So in here, you can quickly select the variables you're interested in, do some kind of customization. Maybe you're interested in, in just a few variables, right? I'm looking for fuel economy, miles per gallon. Okay, there we go. And change the data type if you want, like my data, that's my variable, and hit import. Right, very quickly, the data is now available within MATLAB. So you see here at the bottom on the workspace, you have this data available. And without having to write any code, now I can start analyzing my data, right? So maybe I want to see rated horsepower versus miles per gallon, right? I select that, and in the plots tab, I can start exploring a variety of plots available, right? So these are very low cost operations. Try out the best plots that work for you. So clearly this was not the best plot for me. I'm going to try multi-plot. Okay, maybe I start getting some better visualizations, get a better sense for what this is, right? Zoom in, zoom out. If I want to put a scatter plot, all of this can be done here really quickly, right? Any kind of customizations being done, right? Not just that, as soon as you run these operations, MATLAB is also automatically generating code for it, right? So notice the operation that we just ran, MATLAB just created code, right? So I can go ahead and run this code at my own script. So I'm just going to open up a new live script, right? And then run this code from here, right? And if you remember, we did not have to write a single line of code right now to reach this point, right? Even customization to this plot, right? Maybe I want to add a title, right? So I'd say MPG versus rated horsepower plot, right? You can do that. Add some X labels, Y labels, right? So this is my miles per, this is horsepower, and my Y label would be miles per gallon, right? All these kind of customizations. If I wanted to add some color bar, add a grid, remove grids, all of these customizations can be done here. And notice MATLAB is also automatically generating code for all of this, right? So the next time to automate this operation, I don't have to repeat all of this again, right? Once I'm happy with the visualization I created, just go ahead and say update code. And notice MATLAB updated all of this automatically, right? So if I run this again, all of these customizations are there for our analysis, right? So very easy, quick way to start visualizing your data. Now, not just that, all the customizations that we did while importing our data, notice that there are workflows and buttons throughout all these, point and click spaces within MATLAB to automatically generate code. So this import tool has the ability to automate your operation by automatically generating code. So I'd say, instead of just directly importing the data, I'll say generate a script out of this, right? So very quickly, I have a script, or maybe I want to do this as a function. So generate a function out of this. Notice that MATLAB has automatically generated this function with all the customizations, right? And with inputs and the data as the output. So now the next time I repeat this operation, I don't have to go into the import tool and do all my manual customization. Just going to close this out, right? I've already generated this function that does all that for me, right? So I can quickly import my data, right? Even operations like exploring what the data looks like, there are simple helper functions available, to do all these common operations. So if I want to see a summary of what this data is, summary of data, right? Real simple, quick and simple. So I can see all the content of this. I see variables. I see the variables I have here, which has a min, max, and median value, right? There are other variables also, like we saw, there's drive, there's weight. All of these have their, some kind of a summary or a description of what the data that you're working with, right? So quickly get a sense of what's going on. Now, we saw how you could visualize your data real quick. There are also powerful operations by which you can, let me go ahead and run all of this. Right, so run in advance. I'm just going to go ahead and keep running it as we proceed through the script. Right. There are grouped operations also, right? Through simple functions, you can perform these kind of operations. So this here is a group scatter, a group-wise scatter, whether and we organize the data for miles per gallon versus rated horsepower to distribute it within different groups. And we define the groups as whether the car drives in the city, or whether it's a car that's used in the city, a car that's used in the highway, or a truck that's used in the city, or truck in the highway. And each of them have their different color codes, right? And at any point, if you're wondering, how do I use this function that's there in MATLAB? It's so easy to find out, right? Because there's a huge plethora of documentation available. I could just go on this function and press F1, or just right click and click on help. So very quickly you can start exploring the documentation. And you see here that it has a lot of effort goes into the documentation. Our teams, our documentation teams have masters and PhDs in this space, and definitely spend a lot of time organizing this content in an easy to use manner. So there are various syntaxes available for this function, right? Each of those syntaxes has some kind of an example, right? So you see, oh, I want to set up some kind of visualization like this. There's code available. And not just that, you can go ahead and just open a live script directly, right? And this script is going to work right out of the box, right? So we go ahead and run this. So the next time you're trying to set up a visualization like this, you can just reuse or leverage the code that's already been built, right? Very simple, easy to work with. I'm going to close this out right now, right? So let's go ahead and run all of this. Give it a second to run here, right? And I see, I'm just going to quickly also monitor the chat window real quick. Simple question, how do I access MATLAB? Fantastic, great. I will touch upon that towards the end of the session. In fact, maybe let's just look at it right now, since I see that question, right? So I'm going to go to the page address, and let's see here. I'll go to the web version of this page. Right, so the MATLAB documentation is available for everyone, right, on the MathWorks page. All of this is available, right? So you can always explore this. There's a plethora of documentation. There's examples in here, right? So you can always look through these examples. And let's see if one of these examples has something by which I can open MATLAB. I can open it online, right? Maybe I'll look for another example, say, FFT, right? Okay, let me come back to that, right? Close this up. So you can do operations like, visualizing your data, as well as doing some kind of like initial analytics. You want to group your data into certain ways, filter out data, specific kinds of, rows of data that are relevant. All of that can be done with, simple, very low lines of code, right? You don't have to write too much code to do that. Now, let's say you want to fit an equation also. There are typically apps to do a lot of this work for you, right? So depending on the kind of toolboxes that you have, there are a variety of tools available, for each of the toolboxes, the variety of apps available. And these apps really make typical standard workflows that we see people in the industry, in the academics, customers that we work with, right, use day in and day out. When we see people, the repeating workflow over and over again, typically MathWorks development kind of goes in and makes an app out of it. So there is an app for curve fitting also, right? So if you're working with, if you want to kind of interpolate, do some kind of interpolation on data, find equations that match it, there's an app to do that really quickly, easily. I'm just going to fire that up. And with this curve fitting app, it requires, there's specific, these are toolbox specific. So this is like a basic toolbox, the curve fitting toolbox, but you can quickly, import data into this, right? So I'm going to select my data. So maybe I want to, and you can perform interpolations or, curve fitting for data that's the type of y is equal to f of x or z is equal to f of x comma y. So in this case, we will fit the rated horsepower and use that to fit a model. Just give this a second, to estimate the miles per gallon, right? A simple kind of analysis here. And there are a variety of interpolations available, right? You could do polynomial, Gaussian, power, interpolant, spline interpolation, right? Also, right, you can kind of specify how much smoother or rougher you want it to be. In our case, we're going to put in a custom equation, right? So I'm going to put in my custom equation I'm interested in, right, and perform this this operation, which is fitting an equation y is equal to f of x. So in our case, we had this equation y is equal to a plus b by x, right? So simple equation, you see we did a curve fitting, and that curve, you also get a lot of additional information about it, right? What's the R square of the fit? What the sum of squares error, adjusted R square, root mean square error, you know, a lot of this information, right? Also, all the coefficients that were, the estimated coefficients, so the values of A and B and what their confidence intervals are, all of this information can be accessed, right? And the best part is once you do this kind of analysis, just like we saw in a variety of other sections, MATLAB's automatically generating code for you, right? So you could go ahead and hit generate code, and all of this analysis has been done automatically. So you don't have to really repeat these operations over and over again. You can just leverage this function and you know, be able to automate the work that you did. So just like that, we saw that, you know, I've built this function, create miles per gallon fit, and it generates this kind of analysis where you can plot your data, your X and Y data, fit a curve to it, and further down, you know, see additional, very quickly do analyses like this, like, you know, fit the data, look at the confidence interval here. Live scripts also have some neat features called live tasks and controls by which, you know, common operations are automated, right? So if you want to put in a drop down, if you want your users to interact with your work, very quickly you can add these live controls. Like in this case, I have a live control for the confidence interval. Maybe I wanted to see 99% confidence interval, right? And you see the plot has been updated for the 99% confidence interval. Maybe I want to you know, go down to 75% confidence interval. I can go ahead and do this. So this kind of interaction can very quickly be built in, right? And these are not just drop downs. So you can put in sliders, spinners, checkboxes, buttons, all of these, and program them for specific operations, right? For example, I can go ahead and configure this and change the labels, assign a variable that can preload values, specify what the execution is going to be, whether it's going to run the whole section or nothing or all of this, right? So all of these can be programmed in. And once you've done all of this analysis, exporting this is super simple, right? So you can export it as a PDF, Word, HTML, like whatever is important, right? So let's say hypothetically, we go ahead and export this as an HTML right now. I'm going to go ahead and do that, right? So you might have noticed by now, it's so easy to you know, build your complete story that you'd like to share with other people, right? You're not just writing a script or a function or some programs, but you're really joining, you know, merging it into the high-level storyline that you'd like to share with other people, right? I was doing some analysis right before this, so my computer memory is fully loaded right now. I guess I should have rebooted my computer right before this, right? But you can see I was able to generate this HTML file that now I can share with other people, right? And they can interact with it. Maybe they want to go down to this fit the custom equation section. You can go in here, start looking at what was built, right? Very quickly build these kind of analyses, right? So now the next section that I want to bring up is, you know, once you've done your analysis, so let's go back into the plot, into the presentation. Once you've done your analysis, you'd like to share it with people, right? So on this right side, you want to generate some kind of interactive features that you can share, right? So to do that, let's go into, you can create a, let's go in here, you could say new app, right? That's going to open up what's called App Designer, or as well as you can run App Designer from right here. Right. I'm going to create a new one, and you see it opens up this app designer page. See here, right? It opens up this app designer page, and it has some helpful sections on top, right? So there's literally a 3-minute tutorial of getting started with app designer. So very simple interface to use, and it has a lot of examples also. So the kind of, depending on the kind of package that you're working with, the kind of the user interface you'd like to build, you can either start with some of these examples or just start off with a blank app, right? So I'm going to fire this up. Right. I'll also go back. Just give me a second here. All right. So we'll see how you can build some of the features of this app that we just saw, right? That but we'll just start with a very, very simple app, right? So if you see here on the left side, there's a component library, and keep in mind, app designer is a part of base MATLAB. So with a basic MATLAB license, you get app designer too, right? So you can there's a component library on the left. You can kind of drag and drop these components in here. There's axes, buttons, drop downs, tables. There's also instrumentation, gauges, buttons, all of this that you can put in, menu bars if you'd like to, right? Very quickly start adding these. But today we'll see how you can quickly build a simple app, right? Every time someone presses a button, I'm going to remove this menu also section, right? Every time someone presses this button, I'm going to zoom in and update plot. We'd like this plot to be updated. So I'll add some, and if I get my spellings right here, right? So I'd say value, maybe it's some time axis and some value or something like that, right? So you can kind of set this up the way you'd like, right? And on the right side of there's a component browser where you can kind of access all of these components. So very quickly, I'll assign some functionality to this button. We'll say the functionality we can assign as a callback. So I'm going to say add button push function callback, right? And MATLAB quickly switched from design view to code view and neatly created this function and put the cursor right where it needs to be. So I'd say y equals some random 5 rows and 2 columns, right? Just some simple function here. Here you can think of your own complex script or function running, right? It does not have to be something simple like this. And I'm going to go ahead and plot on this app's UI axis. I'm going to plot this new Y data that we generated. Let's go ahead and hit run. Right. Give it a few seconds to fire up and hit update plot. All right. So you could see here very quickly, you could build something like this that can now be shared with other people, right? And sharing these kind of apps is very, very easy. Just go into the design view and you can share it as a MATLAB app. This is a part of base MATLAB. Now, if you have some additional toolboxes like a compiler, you can also deploy this as a web app or also a standalone desktop app as an executable. These two require additional toolboxes, but again, it's just a click workflow, very simple to do, right? So, right. So you can, with the compiler, you can also generate apps like this, right? So let's say fire up a web app. I'll just show a very quick example. So, and this was generated right from here. Again, that requires an additional toolbox. I won't go into too many details there, but you could have just clicked on this web app here and generated that. So the workflows, the idea I want to highlight is the simplicity of it. You don't have to write too much script to do that. The specific toolboxes within MATLAB do that, all of that for you, make that really easy, right? So all of this interactive capabilities now can be accessed by other members through a web browser too, right? So simple, easy. Now let's get back to the presentation. Right. So to conclude, on some of the scripts that we saw here, we saw how you could access your data from a variety of files, explore it, do some analysis, visualize it, create an algorithm. And then we also saw how you can share it with other people, right? Quickly, easily. So I've put in these slides. I'll share it with you all so you can go through this at your own time later on. It's very easy to do, right? So I'll just keep this in here. But what I'd like to kind of highlight here is very quickly, you can build your algorithms in MATLAB and use specific toolboxes, which just like a lot of our customers do, right? And quickly integrate it to your enterprise systems. So as a scientist and an engineer, you don't really need to be an expert, an IT expert, or a front-end expert, or a deployment expert. You really, through click approaches, you can deploy these into enterprise systems. Not just that, there are toolboxes available in MATLAB that allow you, without having to write any additional code, go from MATLAB into readable C++ code, HDL, PLC, CUDA code, all of this, which can finally reside in your edge devices too. And a lot of our customers in the aerospace industry, the space technology, in the automotive industry, medical devices industry use these workflows day in and day out, right, in their enterprise solutions. So again, finally, to kind of like paint the big picture, we looked at one specific example of data analysis, but there are, MATLAB and Simulink are very versatile tools. We have, domain-specific reference examples in a wide variety of areas, whether you're building like, predictive maintenance algorithms, doing geospatial analysis, like medical imaging, visual inspection, robotics. And the thing is that all of these, what we noticed that algorithms built in one industry are applicable in the other industry too. MRI-based medical imaging technology is applicable in geospatial analysis. Examples like those, right? So finally, there's also a solutions page for the oil and gas industry. So let's go to the MathWorks website here. MathWorks.com. Right, so this is the MathWorks website, and there's a solutions tab here. And depending on the kind of industry you're in, there's different solutions, like it's categorized as applications, industries, disciplines, capabilities. So I'll go into the industries page. And I know you all of this audience, or most of this audience is in the oil and gas industry. So there's a page for energy production, specifically oil and gas. So also a section, I'll just go back, apologize. Also a section for chemicals and petrochemicals, right? So let's go into this oil and gas section. You see here, our industry managers have put in some, consolidated this information for specific industries and put it all here, right? So you can read about carbon sequestration models here, right? There are examples of how other customers have, built their algorithms. If you're working on predictive maintenance, right, there are examples here. If you're doing geospatial image processing, which might be relevant in this case, there are examples here. Hardware in the loop, drilling systems, model-based design, all of these examples in here, right? And also, we integrate really well. You build your algorithms on the desktop, but these are deployable to enterprise systems really easily, right? So we integrate really well with Azure and AWS. I see Microsoft Azure's also. We have speakers from there, so it's great to have our colleagues also on this board. So MATLAB can be deployed on the cloud very easily too. So if I say MATLAB on the cloud, just going to open up the first page, right? So there are examples. You can see the cloud resources on the page, right? So the variety of solutions that we have here. So you can host it on public clouds and AWS, on Azure, right? And we have reference architectures that fire all of this up, right? So highly encourage, there's solutions for a variety of spaces. There's also a central community where you can, have conversations with other people. You know, you can exchange information. There's, if you want to have questions, you can always post questions, get answers there. Not just that, right from within MATLAB, there is literally, all of those resources built in here, right? So if you have, there's documentation here that's a first line of defense. There's a whole community here that you can access from here. With the license, because we are a paid software, you don't just get the software, but you get the complete support of our organization. So we have, like, I'm a part of the application engineering team. We have the development team that builds the software. We have a technical support team that specializes in their specific areas. So if you have a question, you can go ahead and say request support, right? Type in your question here, type in a description, select the product you're interested in, attach files if you want. And this gets routed to our technical support team, right? And the technical support team says that they'll, get back to our customers within 48 hours. But I've always heard from customers, getting responses within 24 hours. So, at no point will you be stuck within your workflow. Also, there are resources for on-demand learning. So you can learn MATLAB. There are self-paced courses. There's literally a MATLAB on-ramp available, right? It's a 2-hour free self-paced on-ramp. You can learn a lot from here, right? And a variety of on-ramps, free on-ramps available, right? So, and I'll share some of those links with you, right? So there's a Simulink on-ramp, circuit design, machine learning on-ramp, deep learning on-ramp, reinforcement on-ramp. All of these are free resources that you can leverage. Right. There are also specialized paid training. So if you're an organization wants to get your team up and ready, ramped up, there are specific trainings available for that too. So like there's a MATLAB fundamentals training, 3 days course. I've been using MATLAB for about 15 years now, but after I joined MathWorks about 4 years ago, I went through this course and I learned so many new things from it that I didn't even know, right? So a lot of training available there too. And maybe before closing out, I will show you that you can also do, I think, MATLAB online. So I'll share links with you. I saw some questions like, how do I use this software? So you can always search for download MATLAB and it'll take you to the download page. It'll require to set up an account at mathworks.com. And depending on your account, depending on the kind of licenses, maybe it gets routed to you'll get routed to depending on what part of the country you're in or the world you're in, it'll get routed to the sales team in that specific location. But also you get there is a MathWorks account, MATLAB online that with limited functionality, a light version of that you can use freely. So you can literally go to matlab.mathworks.com and sign in with your username and account and be able to access that. So just give it a few seconds to fire up. The analysis that we looked at, all the algorithms that we just saw in MATLAB, you can do this directly from your browser, right? Do all of this analysis right here from your browser. So, right. So give this a few seconds to fire up, right? And the last time I was here, I was looking at an example to perform some group operations, right? You can do all of these operations. So basically you can run your scripts right here, right? And this is this MATLAB online, which is on matlab.mathworks.com. This is running on the MathWorks server, right? So you can access functionality directly here from your web browser. So with that, again, thank you all organizers, for inviting me. It's a pleasure. I know one of my colleagues, Oscar, was supposed to present, but he is unable to present today as he's, out on presenting elsewhere, meeting some other customers. So gave me an opportunity to connect with you all. to meet everyone here. I'm going to fire up my video again. And again, pleasure to meet you all. And I'd love to, have a conversation. We have the last 15 minutes available. So open to discussion, and I'll hand it back to the panelists here.